2024 has been a great year for music, with some of the biggest stars dropping new albums. From pop and hip-hop to country and R&B, the diversity in music this year is reflected in the best-selling albums. In this video, we look at the top 20 best-selling albums in the US in 2024 so far. The Diamond Collection by Post Malone. It is the greatest hits album for Post Malone, released on April 21, 2023. It contains all of Post Malone's biggest hits from 2016 to 2023. Songs like Congratulations, Rockstar, and Psycho. The album only peaked on number 12 on the Billboard 200 and has maintained its sales. American Heartbreak by Zach Bryan. It was originally released on May 20, 2022 as Zach's third studio album. It debuted on number 5 on the Billboard 200 with 71,000 units sold, but it has increased in popularity gradually. Something in the Orange became the biggest hit from the album, peaking on number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. Folklore by Taylor Swift. It was released on July 24, 2020 as Taylor's 8th studio album. It came out of the COVID era, debuting on number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 846,000 copies in its first week. Cardigan became the number 1 hit from the album, with August becoming a sleeper hit, now sitting on more than 1 billion streams on Spotify. Utopia by Travis Scott. It was released on July 28, 2023 as Travis's 4th studio album after a long hiatus. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200 with first week sales of 496,000 units. Fiend with Playboi Carti became the biggest hit from the album, peaking on number 5 on the Hot 100. Vultures 1 by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign. It was released on February 10, 2024 as a collab album by Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign. It was released independently after Kanye burned his bridges with the music industry because of his string of controversies. It debuted on number 1 with first week sales of 148,000 units, which was big for an independent album. Carnival became the biggest hit from the album, topping the Billboard Hot 100. Guts by Olivia Rodrigo. It was released on September 8, 2023 as Olivia's sophomore album. It was a great follow-up to Sour, debuting on number 1, selling 302,000 album equivalent units in its first week. Vampire was the lead single from the album and the biggest hit, hitting number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. American Dream by 21 Savage. It was released on January 12, 2024 as 21's 3rd studio album. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200 with 133,000 album equivalent units. Red Rum was the biggest hit from the album, peaking on number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. Midnights by Taylor Swift. It was released on October 21, 2022 as Taylor's 10th studio album. It was a record-breaking album, selling more than 1.5 million units in its first week. Anti-Hero was the biggest hit from the album, spending 8 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. Dangerous, the double album by Morgan Wallen. It was released on January 8, 2021 as Morgan's 2nd studio album. Debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 265,000 album equivalent units in its first week. It holds the all-time record for the longest time at number 1, spending 97 weeks at the top of the Billboard Country Albums chart. Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande. It was released on March 8, 2024 as Ariana's 7th studio album. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 227,000 album equivalent units in its first week. 2 singles were released from the album, Yes and We Can't Be Friends, Wait for Your Love, both of which peaked on number 1. Zach Bryan by Zach Bryan. It was released on August 25, 2023 as Zach Bryan's self-titled album. It has struck a chord with country and folk music fans, debuting on number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 200,000 album equivalent units in its first week. I Remember Everything was the biggest hit from the album, peaking on number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Lover by Taylor Swift. It was released on August 23, 2019 as Taylor's 7th studio album. It originally debuted at the top of the album's chart, with 867,000 units sold in its first week. The album came back to the charts after Cruel Summer became a huge hit at the end of last year and spent 4 weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. We Don't Trust You by Future and Metro Boomin. It was released on March 22, 2024, as Future and Metro Boomin's first collab album. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with 251,000 album equivalent units sold. The album kicked off the rap civil war of 2024, with Kendrick's verse on Like That starting off the feud. Like That became a number 1 hit, spending 3 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. For All the Dogs by Drake. It was released on October 6, 2023, as Drake's 8th studio album. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling 402,000 album equivalent units in its first week. He also released a Scary Hours edition of the album a month later. Rich Baby Daddy and First Person Shooter became the biggest hits from the album. 1989 Taylor's Version by Taylor Swift. The re-recording of Taylor's iconic album 1989 has proven to be a major success, debuting on number 1, selling more than 1.6 million units in its first week. It was released on October 27, 2023, and is still going strong months later. The album included Taylor's versions of the biggest hits from the album and additional from the vault tracks, including Is It Over Now, which peaked on number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. SOS by SZA. It was released on December 9, 2022, as SZA's 2nd studio album. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with 318,000 album equivalent units sold in its first week. The album has continued to perform well into 2024, with Snooze becoming one of the biggest hits of the year. Cowboy Carter by Beyonce. It was released on March 29, 2024, as the second act to the trilogy of albums by Beyonce. She went on a new direction with the project, as it is her first country album. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, with 407,000 album equivalent units sold in its first week. The biggest hit from the album is Texas Hold'em, which peaked at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. Stick Season by Noah Kahan. It was released on October 14, 2022, as Noah's breakout album. The album slowly increased in popularity and became one of the best-selling albums 2 years after its initial release. It spiked in popularity because the song Stick Season became a hit, peaking at number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100. One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. It was released on March 3, 2023, as Morgan's 3rd studio album. It debuted on number 1 on the Billboard 200, selling more than 500,000 album equivalent units in its first week. It ended 2023 as the biggest album of the year, spending 19 weeks on number 1 on the chart. Last Night was also the biggest song of the year, spending 16 weeks at the top of the Billboard Hot 100. The Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift. It was released on April 19, 2024, as Taylor's 11th studio album. When it was released, it broke records, debuting at the top of the Billboard 200, with 2.6 million units sold in its first week. It has maintained its popularity since then, spending 4 weeks on number 1 on the album's chart. Its lead single, Fortnite, went number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It is the best-selling album of 2024 so far, with more than 3.5 million units sold in the year.